Hi guys, today I'm going to try and summarize what I showed you in the lecture the other day about trying to set up your model for doing the creative renderings both inside, outside and section cutaways. Now, one of the first things I want you to actually be aware of is that there's no point in you trying to do a rendering of a model that isn't really complete. So please ensure you've got your walls, windows, doors, decks, all that kind of stuff. And you may remember that, you know, we have got a fairly small site, and if you do a 3D of just that site, it's going to look like the house is on an island. So what you may do is what I've done here. I've just kind of taken this mesh that I have along, the boundary of our site, and I've just kind of dragged a copy of it, to each side. So all I did was just select the mesh, which I'm struggling to locate here completely. But if you think about the mesh on our site, it's kind of not easy to pick there. I basically got that mesh and just dragged a copy each side and then mirrored a whole copy to try and give some context. I then just used the slab tool. And the thing to watch out for these things is just be aware that even though I've drawn them at sea level datum, the front of our site's 9,800. So I've just made that about 100 mil below. So hopefully it won't be too far below my house, like a cliff edge. It's actually up close to where pavement should be. I've made that concrete, but if you look at the what I've done for the road, I just made it asphalt dark so that it would show up in contrast to the footpath, and I've just made it slightly lower as well. There's cars in here, there's trees, and don't forget if you put the trees in, just be aware that you where they have to be in elevation. So if it's at the front of the site, maybe something like 9.6 or 9.200, but if it's at the back of our site, which is about 8,700, you will have to change this a little bit. Also, you may have a thing here which says home story only, and if you want to see it on your ground floor plan, change this to home and one story up. Now, the effect of all this contextual stuff is if I go here and say F5, and I'll just say view uh, elements in 3D, view show all in 3D. So you can see then that this house doesn't look as if it's falling off the edge of the earth, okay? And what we've done here, I've just taken an ex-student's drawing and added some things to it. We've put a fence to kind of highlight where our site is. He's put some slabs in, and he's even done some slabs for paving. Now, once you've got that and you've decided you've got a view that you quite like, you might say, well, okay, I'm going to try and do a creative rendering of that. So what you'll end up doing is going up to Document, Creative Imaging, and going to a thing called Photo Rendering Settings. Now, this is quite advanced feature of Archicad, and I think you'll find it in our manual on page 150, where they talk about one of the first things is to maybe set up the size of your rendering. And it can be in pixels, it can be in, centimeters or millimeters. Really, I'm kind of considering that we're going to print an A3. I don't want it to print right to the edge of A3, so I'm just going to choose an image size which is approximately, in that kind of area code or magnitude. An A3 page is something like 420 by 210. So if I wanted to leave some room around my images, or I'm going to put a couple in, I'm just going to put an approximate size here. As regards resolution, the computer screens nowadays are probably higher than 72 dots per inch. I think the copy center can only do, they reckon they can do 600, but 300 would be sufficient. I think 150, based on the ones I've done, are going to be sufficient as well. So what you could do here is try 150, but just be aware of the consequences of making these really big, because it could be slow down your machine. Now the other thing is apply safe render frame just means it'll render what we see in the 3D window, and I think this is quite a good thing here as well. So I'm expecting to see an image which is more or less the size of my 3D window. Now if I do that, what I want to do now is go back to the settings and I'm going to just choose one of the scenes that Archicad has got preset. Now, when you do the select and manage scenes, you may get access to something like this. And what we'll do first of all, because these things are sketch scenes, they tend to render a little bit quicker. So I'm going to just choose one. And the one that seems to work quite well is this Koh-i-Noor. And I'm going to pick that. And you'll see that it sets up some automatic settings here. And you can choose what kind of pencil to put in it. Um, you know, the element settings you can try as well. And I think it changes and lets you see some color. But these ones don't take too long. You can't really do a preview of them. It just kind of does a kind of building like this. But what I'll do is I'll just pull this thing to one side, and then I don't really think you should look at changing these. I haven't done it, and it doesn't seem to have made any difference. I don't think I'd worry about the background. So let's just see what this looks like with the tech pencil, and maybe we can try one with crayon or pen and ink later. And these are things you can experiment with. So I'm just going to go photo render projection. It may take a minute or so, so just be aware of that. And some of these examples I'm going to show you will take a long time. So we're not going to wait in the video for this to happen. So I've prepared some other examples that will show you what you're going to achieve if you follow these instructions. Now this one is seems to be taking a little bit of time. So what I will do is kind of just pull over some ones I've done earlier. And this is a Koh-i-Noor one, and I'm just going to open it up. And that's the kind of image I'm expecting to see. So you see it's a nice kind of sketch pattern, and it's got nice rendering and hatching in it, so it's pretty good. Still seems to be taking a bit of time. So there you go. It's turned up, and it took 37 seconds. You're going to find that some of the color ones will take much longer, so we can't really wait around for those. Now, the other ones you can try, if I change this to current element settings, I believe the one that I'm going to see is one like this with the color in it. This, I think, is a copperhead crayon. So you can see that I've tried copperhead and I've changed the pen to crayon. So you might like this little sketchy one for maybe a cover or something. The Koh-i-Noor itself, with just the color, you can see it's slightly neater. The other one was more sketchy, I suppose. But it just shows you what things you can experiment with. And these are all images that a client would find useful. Now, I'm going to just go back to my 3D. And now when you go to your 3D, guys, I would just maybe make the layer combinations all or whatever, unless you get something that you definitely don't want to see. But I'm going to now try some other scene. And if I go to select and manage scenes, there were some, I think, called white model. So this white model one is quite good. It's like the old models that architects used to make. So if I click that one, go OK. And, I don't think this weather preset, we're going to be able to do anything with that. So I'm going to just change that. But you may get a preview of this one. I think the default in the white model is that the background will be pretty white. So even though it's kind of showing up as black here, it's just white. So you might like that. But if you want to change the background, you can just click this and then click color. And there should be a little, if you click here, you can just choose black. And I'm going to say OK for the front. And if I was to preview this one, it should give me a black sky then, which some people might find looks pretty attractive. Now I've got one of these as well, so this still looks quite funky in my view, but this is the white model one that I did earlier, which you can see is from the deck side, so it's a white model. And if you do one of these images, I will just do a quick one again just to show you how you can change these. So basically when you choose the scene, and if I choose this Koh-i-Noor, just I'll render it again. It's only because I want to let you see how you can save these things to bring them into your layouts later. Now, while that's rendering, you'll see there's some tabs at the top, and in fact, some of these may well be ones that I've done before. It might not open it when it's doing this one, so I'll just abort this one, stop it, I hope. seems to be ignoring my instructions, unfortunately. So I will just go back over to some of these other ones and show you an example of one which is going to have a full color rendering. So I'm going to go around the front of the house and do one to help you set this kind of view up. So this is, you can see the file format is TIFF, but this could be JPEG. So when you get the image, you can just left click on it, right click on it, go Save As, and you will get a, a Finder or Windows Explorer box, Save As Type. I've just gone with the TIFF. You can go PNG, bitmap, PDF file, but I would stick with just JPEGs and TIFFs. This transfer image file format's usually of decent quality. So I'm going to cancel out of that, but you'll see that all my examples here are TIFFs. Okay, so if I just get rid of some of these pictures at the top, I'm not going to save those. I'm going to just try and show you a photorealistic one, and this video could end up getting slightly longer because of all the settings. So what we'll do is go select and manage scenes. I'm going to go to the outdoor daylight ones, and if I go to outdoor daylight fast and just say okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to low because I just want to get some idea of the what the image is going to look like without making my computer work for 20 minutes. What you can find then is that we can change the background. So this has got a sky, and you can change it to a different type of sky, cirrus sky, blue night. You can play around with them and see if you get an image that you think shows your building off quite well. So I'll try this one. I say I'm making these quite low quality because it could make the computer do a bit of work. So I'll click photo render and see how long it takes. Now it could take 2 or 3 minutes, so this is why I have actually um, prepared some earlier ones. So this one's from the front, so we should get something which I'm hoping will look like this. So you can even see we've got some nice reflections on the car, we've got shadows on the weatherboards, and we can see the car skinning the garage and one here. So again, clients would find this very useful. If people decide to put more context around here, or trees at the back, yeah, that can work well, but it also may slow down the rendering that Archicad does. So I think what we'll do is, I'm pretty sure those settings will give me the one I've just shown you. So I think I'm going to have to stop this because it's going to take too long. Other ones that I want to show you are things like inside. So when we go inside the building, I mean, you can try uh, different scenes outside as well. I mean, there's quite nice nighttime ones, outdoor scenes, outdoor dark or dusk, dusk final. Um, and if you choose one of these, click OK, it gives you this blushing dusk sky, but you might decide to do a blue night one, and that can work fairly well. But if you do a blue night one, um, this one I'm just going to stop it because it's going to be take too long. If the blue night one could end up in quite dark, but we can get some quite nice effects if I was to kind of go around the back of the building. And I think what should happen is if I manage to get right back and hopefully rotate this thing and pan it. Sometimes you can actually put lights on inside the building, which will help us to see maybe some feature. So we've got a view here. The lights I'm referring to, they're in this plan, but because they're not part of this layer combination, I'm just going to turn them on. These things are found in a lamp tool. When you choose them, this is a pendant light fitting. You can change the kind of, the warmth of the light. You can change the intensity of the light, and we can do it here, and we can also do it in the photo rendering settings. So if you're finding something's a bit too dark, you might want to turn these up. So if I was to go in here and grab that camera and go F5, I should see these light fittings. So you can see there's a couple of downlighters and stuff here. You can see we've got the teaching team on the wall, and you might just decide to do an internal render. So select and manage scenes. If you go to indoor scenes, you can do indoor lamps only, indoor fast physical. If you choose those, click OK. You can, this one defaults to the lamps being off. So you might find that when you do the rendering, if the image seems a little bit dark, go in, move this, and see what effect it has. Now, I'm not going to render these either because it's going to take a while, but I'm just going to show you what you'd expect to see. So there's one with the indoor daylight, and you can see I can actually make out the space quite well, and I can even see out the windows to what's happening outside. And if you look, when I bring across the other one, which is indoor lamps only, it's very similar, but you're getting some lighting effects from these wall lights, and you're getting even a reflection here. So that's not too bad. This might be slightly bright, and if that one's slightly bright, what you would do is just go in and you can select the light here, and you can adjust the light settings here under I think parameters, main intensity, so you could turn that down a little bit, or you can also try changing stuff over here where you've got the lamps, and the one I showed you with lamps only, I obviously turned these up because it would have been a bit dark, and I did it with a kind of a twilight sky on the outside as well, so you can get some nice combinations there. Okay, the only other ones that I think I'd like to show you uh, in terms of what we can play around with are trying to maybe get some kind of cutaway view. So the cutaway view, you can access it if you see these scissors. If this thing's turned off up here, you won't be able to do it. But I'm going to try and do a cutaway view coming in from the side. So I'm just going to turn this on. Going to grab this scissors and kind of bring it across until I think I can get a view that might show off the building. And then you hit finalize. And you could just kind of zoom into that to try and make it that it's not floating so much, or maybe make the building a bit bigger. I mean, we're probably going to be stuck with this plinth thing at the bottom, but hey, it's still reasonably dynamic view. This bit up here is a little bit boring, so you might turn it around, or else you might push the section through a little bit more. You might decide that I want to see more of the downstairs. When you do this photo rendering, if you find it's a little bit dark, you could try going into elements in 3D view options, 3D projection settings. And you may find that the sun is around the side over here, whereas I've kind of cut through coming from this direction. I think that's my cut plane here. So just try moving the sun around. Okay. Now at the minute, that sun is at quite a high altitude. So I'm going to click OK. And you can see it's got a little bit lighter, but it's still probably in shade because the sun is quite high in the sky. So what I'm going to do is just kind of open up the creative imaging, and I want to see if I can get a preview of that one, because I'll just say change it, not indoor daylight, I'll just change it to an outdoor daylight fast, and we'll just say when it comes up, let's look at the profile, which may give us some idea of whether these rooms are going to be a bit dark or not. So let's see what happens in the profile. So see the way this one is a little bit too dark. So I'm a bit worried about that. So I'm just going to go back here, view, 3D view options, and the sun's in the right direction, but maybe the sun is summertime and it's too high. So I'm going to just take some liberties and say it's quite low in the sky. Click OK. And you see this brightened up a little bit already. Try a profile for this one over here. And you can see that now we're getting a bit more light into this room at the bottom. And with the detail on the outside, that's probably not too bad. So I have a sample of one like that as well. I think this one There's a section cutaway dusk, but this one's got lamps on it. Um, there's another section I've got, which is not the exact one I set up for you there. This is a similar one, which I've done blue night with lights. So I've put lights, pendant lights up above, and initially this was a little bit blown out, so I had to turn them down a little bit. You can select them in your 3D window. You cannot select them from the rendering, but this is quite a nice view. You're getting the kind of contrast of the rooms lit up. Um, I'll just, if I start this one now, I mean, I could choose a different sky here. If I wanted clear, dusk, blue night, overcast, I think this one could take a matter of minutes as well. So it may be uh, too long for us this video, which is getting a little bit long even as it is. So look, the last thing I'll show you perhaps, I mean, this may come from the outside, from the center, and if it does, it may show you what I was trying to achieve in this lower room, where you're actually even getting the pictures lit up. If you find that there's still a lot of shadow here, just go into that view, 3D view options as I indicated earlier, and then just make the sun really low in the sky and light this room up. Uh, Obviously you can, change the lights inside too. So this pendant fitting, you could just turn that up over here, and that will add some more light to the room below, but it'll also add some light to these rooms up above, which have the wall lights. Um, I think I'm going to stop that one because this video is getting long, and I'm going to go back to the basic 3D and just show you delete all cutting planes. And I think what I'd like to try and do is to try and show you one coming from the top, which is where we maybe try and get a you know, cutaway of the first floor or the ground floor. So what you're going to do here is just bring this one down from above, and it should start to cut through the house. Um, and you can see I'm getting the first floor cut away, and you can then rotate that around to get a more dynamic view if you like. Show the circulation, and obviously you can go document, creative imaging, photo rendering settings, and choose what one you want to apply here. I think just the daylight ones would be fine. If you want to go to the ground floor again, I'm just going to escape and cancel the delete all cutting planes again. I don't think I want to show those ones either. So I'm going to try and bring this down all the way to the ground floor. So I'm getting a bit of a preview. So I'll come down to about here, finalize, and I'm getting quite a dynamic view here. Now I've made my cars kind of cabriolets or whatever, but you can get a kind of a nice, energetic view here. And again, if you choose the photo rendering settings and just choose a daylight one, you probably get quite a stimulating view here. Now the video's got very long, there was a lot to cover, so I'm going to stop it there, and hopefully this is going to help you produce some fairly decent renderings. So best of luck.